Hi, this is new updates of my book, and before I get into that, I just wanted to show you guys that I've been quietly updating it since the last time, and yeah, I'm not gonna explain too much about the changes, though I will get into explaining this, which this is Aletheus, Stoikeion, Ananke, and Aporetos, Parengenesis, Auristus, and this is Ammonius Horoteion. And it says here I've contradistinguished Aletheia from Aporetos and contradistinguished Stoikeion, singular, from hen/monas, and also contradistinguished Ananke from Auristus. Aletheia Stoikeion Ananke is the divine principle. Aporetus Paregenesis Auristos is the divine attribute of the divine principle. The tetralemic logic arises from misapprehended reasoning of the Helion, one whole divine element of being which is irrefutable, irreducible, inevitable, and so the refutable, reducible, inevitable attribute is contingent upon the principle wholly reconciled. So this image right here, let's go here, that's a little bigger, and go back here, and this is the older image, the three irreducible statements. I have this part in the book, but I'll get into that later. But as explained here, this image is outdated, but is here for reference as to what I have improved upon. And here's the image that I've made, since the overwhelming majority simply did not grasp what I've been saying for as long as I've made content on the topic of squaring the circle. Here's a cropped image from my book that I can only hope clarifies the point thoroughly, but it's no substitute for the book itself. And you could see that a little better here. So this subscript stuff, don't think about it too hard. So these 4 is concerning the circle, these 4 concerning the square. So the square area of the circle to the circle circumference of the circle, that's one ratio, and there's another ratio here of the circle area of the circle to the square perimeter of the circle, which is another ratio, which there's a ratio between these two, and there's a ratio between this and this over here. And 1 circle, 2 squares, 1 square, 2 circles, and this is square brackets and circular brackets, just to kind of show you the overlapping relationships between the two of the circle and the square. And this is the large version of my book. This is my ISO, and the ISO's one is the regular one. And here's the regular one. Let's go to the presentation mode. And these are my this is my oldest logo. Some of you remember. This is not really my old logo, but it's been in my book for a long time in a more colorful way. And This is my current logo. Anyways, scrolling on, I'm just gonna leave this page unexplained, but I am gonna explain it in the future in a book that will commentate on my own book here, which will elaborate as to what I'm trying to get into explaining behind what's going on here. And excuse me, I've updated this page so that it has these parts here: distance equal measure material magnitude over unit magnitude, time equals material measure of the motive distance over the unit distance, speed as material motive rate of distance over time, velocity equals coordinate material motive rate of distance origin to another point on spatial axis, and time origin to other point on temporal axis. And so space here is meant of distance, and the positive and negative here is in relation to a chosen point of origin of on a location. And as you could notice, that time is a material measure, and of course distance is a material magnitude, but the etheric counterpart will use materially decoupled location points as a substitution of materiality, but it is more etheric because it's non-material based time and spatial attributes. And so the material paradigm is more objectively knowable, but there is still nevertheless an etheric aspect behind space and time, yet it's still downstream from the etheric medium itself, which matter is, of course, a modality of the ether as well. So in the end, there is a sort of absolute space and absolute time, but that absolute is relation to the etheric medium. So it's not a strictly materially contingent distinction, but more of a etheric distinction, derived using matter, but not matter in itself as the means for that relation to be known. Moving on, updated this part. This section here is what I meant in the older 3 irreducible statements page, and the back and forth arrows is in relation to each other, back and forth equally another thing. So there's 3 of those, and all together is this symbol here. And yeah, change the symbols. Okay, so this is a lotus flower, and this is the wheel. So I try to again contradistinguish the divine silence from the divine fruition or cultivation of the whole truth, which attributionally, if you realize the truth, you'll remain in silence in respect of the truth. So if you don't know the truth, you keep asking more and more questions, but at the same time, there is nevertheless an utterable answer to that question. But if that answer isn't enough, you'll keep asking for more and more and more, and you end up in a state of circumductive cyclical mental trap of sorts, which that is a bad thing because you keep on seeking what is not the truth as if it was the truth, and which is why you keep on going around in a hamster wheel of the Ringler, how do you say, sophists, which it's kind of like arguing about things in a tetralemic or Katusoki or something, which they try to affirm something, negate something, posit that is both of it, and posit it is neither, both, negation or affirmation. Then you put it back in the cycle again, which, that's a aspiration actually away from the truth. And that is a bad thing, because you'll just go around and around, but you'll never get to the undescended divine principle behind the divine attribute. But moving on, fix this part. Before I move to the next page, I'll just say that it's void is mentioned here because it is devoid of matter, because geometry and all that is non-physical. So since it is non-physical, doesn't mean that there's absolutely nothing. It's not an affirmation of void in itself. Okay, there is no void in itself, but there's a void in relation to something. So there's void of materiality, which geometry is an immaterial science. So there is something nevertheless prior to the void, which is the ether, the etheric medium, and it's also equivocal to the psyche. And I updated this part to more properly be in line with John Gabriel's system. Let's just move on. Here's this page. I added more stuff here to kind of show you the relationships between these things. And this part here, the dialectic inquiry, I made a fairly big update on that, since I think 4 of these, which is basically this part here, can be further reduced to asking three questions of is it inevitable, is it irreducible, and is it irrefutable? And if it's not, then it's, the opposite of each question, which to realize that it is not inevitable, it is to realize that it is evitable. So it's not a affirmation of negation in itself, but rather a realization of why it is as it is, without invoking discursive thinking as much, though there is some overlaps between, which is why I have this kind of setup going on as to what corresponds to what, sort of, but it's all like convergent to each other, only if it is used correctly to realize what's going on. Anyways, moving on. This page, I think I updated this section here. C over 1 over n less than infinity, t is as in time, so whatever unit of time used is some number n that is less than infinity, which it is, who knows, some unobjective time duration phase post, or here called net zero time. So it's net zero in relation to the chosen point of origin, but it's not actually a complete negation of time or complete positive of time, but it's a net zero. That's in a matrix of between space and time, and negative space and negative time, as a how do you say, a quaternary system. And let's move on. I didn't change this page. I'll say that I've known about the 76.3454 yada yada degree angle for a very long time. Some people just don't know that I've known about that angle very long time ago, as well as this angle and all these angles here, as well as these. I understand like the relationship between the digital root 9 angled form and the angular 5 form, and how close they are with each other, but I digress. This page is mostly the same, I think. I think I fixed this part that wasn't fixed in a previous video or something. This it's kind of self-explanatory, but at the same time some people don't get it, perhaps. So this is basically metaphysical, again, not an actual model of the water molecule, but more of a representation of what it means to the soul, at least to, in a symbolic sense, as a dipole and the universe's solvent, as means for the psyche to modulate life through the water, which this part is similar to the other parts in my book, which Some of you already know that. Anyways, let's move on. This is, I think, the same as the other parts. The other times I recorded. It's the same. And I don't know if I showed this in the previous videos. Also the same. Much different, I think. This page is much different. F circumference to diameter to perimeter. Okay, I'm not gonna explain this in this video, even though it is self-explanatory. At the same time, it's not, because some of you are wholly incompetent. But this part, I'm gonna eventually get into explaining even further than previously explained already. But for now, this book is good enough as to getting into what I'm trying to prove, that, or should I say disprove, against Plato, because Plato doesn't think that it's possible to square the circle, which is clearly false. If you guys don't think so, which these are the proof against Plato and technically against Euclid and Archimedes, so screw them in that respect. But they're still pretty much better than the likes of Aristotle, which ruined the Greeks' understanding of Platonism. And even though Plato himself got some things wrong, he's still much better than Aristotle by a long shot, which I'm not against Aristotle too much, but only to extent of it being recontextualized in a proper manner, which is never really done by most anyone after Plotinus. But even Plotinus incorporates the Aristotelian term of aoristos to explain various things that people totally misunderstand and materialize as in prime matter and whatever. But it's really more different than that, and it is more of an Plotinian model of the ether. But again, the Plotinian model of the ether is more like how do I say, the Plotinian model of the ether is more absolute, than the Pythagorean ether. It's more like a collapse of even unities. So not even unities are invoked to realize the ultimate truth. Okay, these pages are mostly the same, and these are the same. This I'm not sure if my previous video had this version of the paging, but this is mostly self-explanatory. If you don't get this, then, well, I could get into it, but you guys gotta ask more specific questions if you really want me to help you guys. And this is a much polished up version of a older page. I haven't explained this part in this circle, but I explained this part over here, which goes into here. Okay. And yeah, so these things, so let me exit. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so you could see that what I'm trying to do here is I made a Aletheia, the lotus flower, the stoicheion as one, and Ananke as the closed square brackets. And this inverted is the Aristos. Stoicheion inverted is Paragenesis. And it's not really infinity, but rather indefiniteness, though more like a perpetuation of the one in relation to fractionalized indefiniteness. So 1 over infinity equals 0, but infinity itself isn't really necessary to converge towards 0 without being infinite, because infinite is not really a number because there's no base of infinity. It's just it's impossible since there's no base number of all the prime numbers in any potential sense, because there is no end to that potential in potential. So yeah, there you go. So the refutable as unfathomably ineffable, and the irrefutable as unforgettable divine truth. Well, there's a more deeper meaning behind Aletheia, but I'm not going to get into that in this video. But regardless, because there is an irrefutable, there is therefore an refutable, because it is contention about this. And so going back up here, Aletheia stoicheion is represented by these two, stoicheion, Ananke represented by this symbol, Ananke Aletheia represented by this symbol, and there's the inverse of that over here. And so there's 6 intermediary requisites. Okay, so this is 14 requisite distinctions. So I mean, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And the 6 is between this part to this part, and this part to this part. And there is no 7th intermediary requisite because of its nature. Of this to this is still itself. So, and there could be more sort of downstream implications that could arise from this, but it is not important for this part. Okay, this Platonic hypostasis with its dialectic sense. So this is a monad, and this is the nous, this is the psyche. So in this page, you should have known about this. This means to realize what I meant here. And here's this page. It's more of phi-based relationships and all that. This is the henads, 1, 2, 3, 4, but the hen itself is more of a hidden one, or a monos, but getting a little too ahead of myself, and I changed used to be micton in a plural sense, since there's many mixed forms, but there is a form of a mixed form that is not a mixed form in itself, so I changed that to the Platonic term. And yeah, just gonna move on. I added this line here instead of the previous versions that had the protocol because it keeps updating, and I don't want the guy behind this to think that I'm, misappropriating any of his research, which I'm not. Because look into him if you really want to know what I'm taking or whatever. There's really not much to speak on that, but anyways, these are mostly self-explanatory, and this part hasn't changed, although I could change these two symbols into the Phoenician X, but both of them are still two bundles of sticks together, so it doesn't matter basically. Anyways, this part is fixed. Oh boy, OBS. I've made it more understandable and more in line with my own paradigm of the 6 dialectic distinctions. And yeah. Changed the holon into a holotheon. When I looked up holotheon, it's been used only once in some German book, so good enough, I guess, since it is my own idiosyncratic use of the term. So here's this page again. So this is the solar eclipse, and this is the submerged sun. And I decided to use the solar eclipse symbolism because the light itself is not the illumination of that light in itself, but the illumination of the invisible light is wisdom. So you can't really visibly see yourself, your true self, as an object. It's wholly impossible to do that. And by now you should kind of get what I'm trying to explain with this term here and this term here. And here's this page. So this smaller square is the circumference square, and the larger square here is the area square of the perimeter of the circle. And that's it for now. Thanks for watching. If you guys got any suggestions, you should comment below. Share this video if you really like it, and I hope this helps out, and I'll see you guys in the next video, whenever that will come out. And I'm actually looking for some kind of editor of sorts, because I have lots of ideas, but I don't have much means to parse those ideas, and if you don't work alone, I don't really like working alone too much, though I do have some friends that does help me with some stuff, but I sometimes need to really think about these things by myself, and it's kind of lonely doing that. So if you guys got any really good criticisms, I would enjoy that. You could could contact me with this email address here, Ananke Logos at protonmail.ch. And yeah, I guess that's it for now. See you guys later. Goodbye.